Hello, hello, my friends. Wobble Rocket here. We are back in Haru, the Armada of the Astral Void. There has been a new update to this game, and you can see the addition of the photosensitivity warning that has been added. We are on version 0.2.142. There has not been a ton of changes this update. The major things that we're seeing are some balancing. Let's take a look at the patch notes real quick. There has, of course, been the addition of the photosensitivity warning. We've also seen some balancing to the raygun. One of the things that we mentioned in our last video was the range on the raygun was so far that eventually you would get to a point where the raygun was destroying enemies before they ever got onto the screen, which really took all the challenge out of the game. We're also seeing a couple of changes to the multishot exploder upgrade, which allows every 30 shots or so, your attacks will spawn a large explosion. That has been typically kind of an overpowered ability. We've started to see that come back down a little bit. No new content really. Hopefully we'll see a big content update. Of course, this is an alpha demo, so it very likely could be that we don't see any major content updates until we get closer to an actual release. It's been a while since I played Haru. I've been pretty busy playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night a lot, and also playing Castlevania Simon's Quest, which I've been recording and posting on this channel. Life's also been a little busy with some additional work that is unrelated to YouTube that I've been working on as well. Comes our Skull of Darkness. Let's take him out. Maybe at some point we'll see a slightly smoother animation whenever you destroy the satellites on the Skull of Darkness. They just kind of pop into place in their new orientations. It might be interesting just to make things look a little bit better if we saw, you know, sort of some drift as they move into those new locations instead of just popping into that space. Here comes the Worm of Doom. Somewhere. Yeah, there he is. There were also some changes made to the space mines that you'll see scattered throughout the level. One of the things that I mentioned in our last video that was probably in need of some balancing is the fact that the space mines really stopped becoming a threat after you picked up a couple of upgrades to your health and your armor. So probably at some point in this video, I will purposely dive bomb a mine just to see the new changes on that. The skull again. We should get a weapon drop this time since we haven't gotten a weapon drop from the last two bosses. Let's see what we get. Oh, no, maybe... I wonder if I didn't pick up the one from the worm. I might not have. I don't remember. We did get the, I think that's the, yeah, the critical situation generator. Let's grab the orbital flamethrower. I am never good at saying that word. I always want to stick more letters into orbital than I really should. Okay, let's rush back to our starbase. There are some mines there. Getting a lot of Skull of Darkness spawning this time. I haven't actually ever paid attention to see if there's a pattern to the bosses or if they spawn randomly. Probably should do that at some point. Okay, Starbase. Let's start stacking that orbital flamethrower. We're gonna throw a couple points into our tractor beam as well so that we can increase the range at which we pick up all these rings. I'm glad to see that the developers added the photosensitivity warning to the beginning of the game. You know, as a gamer with photosensitive epilepsy, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, I've played several games that have photosensitivity warnings and never gave me any trouble. I've also played a lot of games that don't have photosensitivity warnings and do cause me trouble. It's very dependent on each individual game. There's so many variables that go into whether a particular piece of media is going to be accessible for somebody who has a photosensitive condition. You know, there's my own particular threshold of how I'm feeling in that moment. If I'm having a really good day, I can play flashy games and ones with lots of moving patterns with no problem. But if I'm having a bad day, or if I've, you know, missed my medication, or just even if there's a lot of like stormy weather, which is another trigger for my epilepsy, if that is going on at the same time, then those kind of things can inhibit the degree to which I can play a flashy video game. Let's stack a whole bunch of points into pulse cannon. I'm gonna go ahead and grab just 1 or 2 points into repair droid, and then we'll just save the rest of it. Hopefully we'll get another weapon drop soon. That extra point in the pulse cannon when it starts to spread out is really, really nice. Especially since it does, you know, spawn both in front of us and behind us. But as I was saying, the photosensitivity warning is still a very good thing. You know, I kind of go into most games assuming that there will be something in the game that might trigger my photosensitive epilepsy. At the same time, there's also a lot of tips and tricks that I can do to kind of modify my experience. You know, sometimes I'll play around with settings on my monitor, such as brightness, or sometimes it's a matter of even wearing, you know, glasses that are slightly tinted with a yellow or a blue tint to decrease the decrease the impact that certain colors have. I think, though, it's a good idea for most developers to include a photosensitive warning if their game is particularly like in this this action roguelike genre, where there are lots of flashy explosions and lots of crazy events going all at one time. It just kind of helps decrease the liability, I would say. And it shows that the developer is aware of those issues, and usually is an indicator that there are some accessibility features. Now, that said, we do not have any graphical accessibility features in Haru at this time. It is something that I've brought up to the developers. I've mentioned a couple of, you know, toggles, like being able to decrease the intensity of the damage flash and changing up some of the scintillating effects that we get through things like the raygun. Those haven't been implemented at this time, but the developers have been pretty receptive to that advice. So hopefully we'll see that in a future update. I'd like to see if we can grab multishot exploder at some point. I feel like that would be a nice addition. I'd like to kind of play around and see what the new effects on that are. And of course, I promised you guys that I would run into a mine, so that's going to be our mission this run. Let's see if we can find a mine for me to dive bomb through and see how much damage we take from it. I know that the way the patch notes describe the damage increase on the mines is that they get a multiplier based on how far away they are from the starbase. So mines that are pretty close to the starbase shouldn't be as damaging as mines that are further away. I think that's a good thing, especially if you are, you know, rushing back to your starbase to try to heal up a little bit. It's good that accidentally running into one is not going to, you know, completely destroy you. Let's see, where's our Worm of Doom at? He's coming. There he is. Got him. Got pulse cannon upgrade. At this level, that mostly just increases damage, and I believe it also increases the attack rate of the pulse cannon, but it puts us that much closer to picking up an extra projectile as well. There's Skull of Darkness. Repair droid was upgraded, always good. The repair droid is just a great upgrade to have, as it increases the rate at which your hull passively regenerates. Okay, so we had Worm of Doom, Skull of Darkness, and then Seed of Evil. So I think if there is some sort of a pattern, we should see Worm of Doom next. Like I said, I don't recall. I've never really paid attention if the bosses are random or if they come in a cycle. Okay, so we got Skull of Darkness that time. Alright, let's run back to our starbase, get some upgrades. Okay, actually, here, hold on. Here's our mines. Alright, let's see how much damage we take from running through these. Okay, that was a pretty decent increase. It almost looked like we only took damage from running into one mine. So there may be like an invulnerability. Yeah, it looks like there might be an invulnerability frame that we get. So even if you run into multiple mines at once, it looks like you're only going to take damage from maybe one of them. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it might suggest that rather than having the mines clustered close together, it might be a little bit more of a challenge if we saw them kind of spaced out a bit more, so that if you dodge one, you still need to be careful and make sure that you dodge another one. Let's stack a whole bunch of points into our laser beam. We're gonna throw a couple into tractor beam so that we can get some more rings, and we'll stick that last point into Gatling gun. I love it when the laser beam gets real chunky like that. Periodic healing and the tractor beam amplifier. is actually my second time recording this video. I had just started recording the first time, and my poor cat, who is kind of medium hair, she's very floofy. If you've watched a couple of my shorts, you might have seen Gracie. She decided to hawk up a giant gross hairball right as I hit the record button. So maybe that'll end up as a blooper at some point, but I had to start that video over because I was laughing too hard. Pulse cannon upgrade. Got a ton of points. Let's see if we can rush back to the star base. Let's throw a whole bunch into pulse cannon. We'll throw a whole bunch into Gatling gun. And what the hell? We'll throw a couple into repair droid. All right, rush back and get our points upgraded. I don't believe there have been any adjustments to the performance of the Gatling gun. That's a weapon that we mentioned in the last video as being a large performance crush. Hopefully we'll see that in a upcoming update. Frames are not totally terrible right now, but they have dropped to about 20 frames per second. Of course, whenever I'm seeing those big FPS drops, keep in mind that I'm also running, you know, my recording software, so that adds a little bit of demand on my computer. So I might see what the FPS does whenever I'm not recording and see if it drops quite as much. Okay, we just picked up the raygun. And as we mentioned in the patch notes, instead of having infinite range, the raygun now has a range of 15 meters. As you upgrade that, the range does increase. So, you know, at level 10, it's got a range of 21 meters, which is still able to hit enemies that are off screen, but it seems like it's not as, you know, it's not blasting enemies that are completely out of sight anymore. Survey mission complete. Let's see if there's any upgrades that we can grab at this point. We're kind of running out of upgrades. I think we're going to grab dissipation fans. And that's all we can do at this time. I'll probably go for the OE magnifier next time so that we can get the increase in projectile size. And then we'll just finish up grabbing battery buffer, hull integrity model, engine propulsors. And then we'll start saving up for the last upgrade that we need for the duplication mirrors. That'll give us one more projectile. At this point, I don't really feel like adding that extra projectile is super necessary until we start seeing, you know, a longer timeline for the run. You know, right now it's capped at 8 minutes. I do believe that in the official release, we'll start seeing more of a longer play loop. Until we start seeing some extra difficulty is not a huge priority for me, just because, you know, we are already seeing some FPS dips with the number of projectiles that we have right now. Adding another projectile on top of that, I think, is just going to exacerbate that, and we're already just wrecking monsters by the end of the run. All things considered, I'm pretty pleased with this update. You know, it is a small update with just a couple of balance tweaks, but I really like the addition of the photosensitivity screen. I really like the extra damage that comes off of the mines. I think that those are all really good choices, especially to the range adjustment on the raygun. If you have not tried Haru, the Armada of the Astral Void, give it a shot. You can download the demo for free on Steam. This is an alpha demo, so there are bugs that are cropping up somewhat regularly. But the devs are very, very active in their Discord. They're very, very receptive to feedback and suggestions. So download the game, give it a shot. If there's something that doesn't quite do it for you, hop into the Discord and, you know, talk about it. They may be willing to make some adjustments that would improve the game overall. My name's Wobble Rocket. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you around.